Ever feel like some parts of Agile are, I don't know, maybe more trouble than they're worth?
Hmm.
We're diving into something today that's got even seasoned developers kind of scratching their heads.
Okay, yeah.
Story points.
Right.
Those little numbers, meant to represent effort during sprints.
Yeah.
With all this talk lately about Agile is dead, kind of makes you wonder, are story points actually helping, or are they just another thing we have to track?
Yeah, yes.
You sent over this really interesting mix of blog posts for this deep dive, even a pretty heated Stack Overflow debate. So
Right.
clearly you are not alone in wondering about this.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've been there.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm excited to unpack this whole thing, get your expert insight, and see if maybe, just maybe, there's a better way to approach this whole estimation game.
Right, right.
Now, for anyone totally new to Agile, super quick rundown. Story points are meant to, size up tasks, right?
Yeah.
But not by hours.
Right.
By the effort, the complexity involved. Think of it as this relative scale.
Okay.
Often uses that Fibonacci sequence.
Right, right.
But we're going way beyond the textbook definition today.
Okay.
We are digging into the nitty-gritty, the good, the bad, and let's be honest, the downright ugly side of story points.
Yeah, yeah.
And trust me, some of these sources,
Yeah.
they do not hold back. So let's just jump right into it, huh?
Okay.
Some arguments against story points that really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that mental drain after you've made a ton of decisions in a row?
Yeah.
Your brain is just fried.
Yeah.
That's decision fatigue.
Yeah.
And according to one source, that's exactly what story point estimation can feel like.
Okay.
We're putting all this mental energy into something that doesn't actually change the end product.
Right.
It's like, what are we even doing here?
And here's where it gets really interesting. This ties into this psychological phenomenon called the Zeigarnik effect.
Okay.
We actually remember unfinished or interrupted tasks way more vividly than completed ones.
Oh, wow.
So we might agonize over story points for a whole sprint.
Right.
But then, once it's over,
Oof.
gone.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Bruh.
Wasted mental energy.
Wow.
And then it gets worse because we're asked to compare current sprint estimations to those fuzzy, half-forgotten ones.
Oh, no.
It's no wonder they're often way off.
Right. We're setting ourselves up for inaccurate estimations from the get-go. And what's even crazier is how easily story points can turn into this weird game,
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on building a great product, it becomes all about hitting a certain velocity,
Yeah.
that magical number of story points per sprint.
Right.
We've got sources talking about teams breaking down tasks into these ridiculously tiny pieces just to make their progress look better on those, what are they called, the burndown charts?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those charts that are supposed to show how quickly work is getting done.
It's the classic trap of vanity metrics. We become obsessed with measuring something, anything,
Right.
even if it has zero to do with the actual value being delivered.
Yes, it's like we're more concerned with looking busy than actually being effective.
Exactly.
And the examples, oh my gosh, the examples these sources share, it's kind of hilarious, but also head shaking kind of way.
Yeah, what are we doing?
One developer was assigned to, get this, write one paragraph
Oh my God.
summarizing a previous task. One paragraph. Guess how long his colleagues estimated that would take?
How long?
Days.
No way.
Days for a single paragraph. It begs the question, have we completely lost sight of common sense in the name of Agile?
See, this actually brings up a really important point from those who defend story points.
Okay.
Their argument is that it's about having the right conversations as a team,
Okay.
understanding the scope of the work, identifying potential risks, fostering collaboration.
Right, and those are all good things.
They're good things.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes you wonder, is there a more effective way to achieve all that without getting bogged down in these story point debates?
Right, maybe those conversations are valuable, but the story points themselves are the problem.
That's something we definitely need to explore further. But first, let's zoom out a bit. We've been talking about story points, in isolation.
Right.
But they kind of exist within this bigger ecosystem
Yeah.
of Agile methodologies, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes those methodologies, even with, the best of intentions,
Right.
can lead to what one source called, get this, Agile recipes.
Recipes, okay.
Yeah, those rigid step-by-step frameworks
Yeah.
that are just magically supposed to make your team more efficient.
Okay.
But here's the catch, right? Those recipes,
they can actually sometimes create more problems than they solve.
Interesting. Yeah.
Let's talk about those Agile recipes a bit more.
Yeah.
You know, those frameworks, the methodologies, those well-intentioned sets of rules, right?
Yeah.
Designed to, like, make everyone super efficient.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is they can make teams start focusing on just checking off boxes
Oh, interesting.
instead of delivering, real value.
Yeah, I see.
Remember how we talked about vanity metrics earlier?
Yes.
Well, one source talks about task bloating within these recipes.
That's bloating. Okay.
The pressure to, like, make sprints look successful, to hit those velocity targets.
Yeah.
It can lead to, well, inflating tasks.
Okay.
A simple job that should take an afternoon, right?
Yeah.
Gets stretched out over days.
Right. Weeks, even.
Wow.
And that's before you factor in all the time spent on, like, the meetings, the documentation.
Yeah, right.
Like, come with these recipes.
All the overhead. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the overhead. I like that.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, though, how this rigid structure,
Yeah.
even if it's, like, based on these Agile principles,
Right.
can lead to this whole task bloating thing.
Yeah, it's like everyone's so focused on making sure that, everything fits into these predefined boxes.
Right.
That they forget to actually just step back and ask, wait, is this actually the best way to even be doing this?
Yeah, are we even accomplishing anything here?
Right, exactly.
The focus shifts from, actually delivering value to just, like, looking good on paper.
Looking good on a spreadsheet? Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. And then there's the meta work overload.
Meta work. What's that?
You know what I mean? It's like some teams, they spend more time talking about the work than actually doing the work.
Okay.
We're looking at sources that, like, just lament this endless cycle of, like, stand-up meetings, sprint planning sessions, demos, retrospectives.
Yeah.
It's enough to make you want to pull your hair out.
Right.
Especially when, like, the outcome of all that talking isn't, like, a better product. It's just, like, more documentation and a sense of, like, oh, yeah, we're busy. Look at us. We're busy when maybe we should just be, getting things done.
The psychological impact of this, is fascinating, actually.
Okay.
Because we as humans, we crave certainty.
Yeah,
And these recipes, with all their metrics and their charts and their timelines and everything, they give us this sense of control, right?
Right, okay.
Like, we know what's coming next.
Yeah.
The danger is, of course, that, we become so fixated on just following the recipe that we forget about the goal, which is actually building something valuable for actual users.
Yeah. And that can be incredibly demotivating for teams.
Oh, sure.
Especially when they, like, know that the product that they're building isn't actually, like, solving a problem.
Right.
Or that the process itself is hindering them.
Yeah.
One of our sources talked about their experience at, like, this big tech company.
Okay.
Where they were basically told, don't talk to users.
Yeah.
Just build the product that we think is best. That's a recipe for disaster right there.
It is. It all comes back to this idea of psychological safety.
Right.
When teams are, when they're able to actually challenge assumptions to, like, express dissenting opinions without fear of retribution.
Yeah.
That's when you have true innovation.
Yeah. Right.
That's when you have a team that can actually truly be agile.
Yeah.
Adaptable, responsive to change.
Right.
And that's something that, no recipe can ever guarantee.
So if these recipes are, potentially leading us astray, what are the alternatives?
Yeah, what are the alternatives?
Well, I'm glad you asked because there are some truly effective ways to build a better way, even within an Agile framework. It all starts with, like, this shift in mindset,
Oh, interesting.
Just instead of prioritizing the process, put the product and the client front and center.
Exactly. It's about remembering, like, what Agile is actually all about.
Yeah.
Delivering value incrementally.
Right.
Responding to change effectively.
Yes.
Fostering that real collaboration.
Yeah.
It's about being brave enough to break the rules of the recipe.
Oh.
When those rules are, holding you back from making something that's truly great.
I love that, being brave enough to break the rules. I like that.
Sometimes you got to throw the recipe out.
Right. Sometimes you just got to go for it.
Yeah.
One source, a developer,
who's
worked in both, like, traditional tech companies and fast-paced startups.
Talks about the power of healthy conflict.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Not not the, destructive kind.
That's great.
But the kind that arises when people like genuinely care about the product.
Yeah.
And are willing to like, challenge each other's ideas to make it better.
See, I love this because this type of healthy conflict, it's actually a really strong indicator of trust within a team.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It means that they feel safe enough to be vulnerable, to disagree,
right,
and to know that their opinions are actually going to be valued.
Absolutely. And sometimes the best communication happens organically.
Yes.
Not in some like pre-scheduled meeting, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Don't be afraid to have those impromptu huddles.
Yeah. Those water cooler brainstorming sessions.
Those are the best.
Those quick chats, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where you just like hash out an idea with a colleague.
That's often where the real magic happens.
Yes, that's often where the real magic happens.
This organic communication.
Yeah.
It's so valuable for just like, building that shared understanding.
Right.
That alignment within the team.
Right.
It's about creating that culture where people, they feel comfortable reaching out to each other, asking for help.
Yeah.
Sharing their knowledge freely,
So after all that, are story points officially dead?
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, the answer, like most things in life, it's complicated.
Right. It's not a simple answer.
Yeah.
It's complicated. But there's some really thought-provoking perspectives here. One of your sources dives into this hashtag no estimates movement.
Hashtag no estimates.
I imagine a world where we just stopped agonizing over story points.
Oh, okay.
What if we focused on, delivering value in small, manageable chunks, and we just trusted our teams to get the work done without getting bogged down in all the estimations and everything?
It does feel kind of radical, right?
It does.
But before we completely write it off, you brought up a really interesting point earlier.
Okay.
There are situations where story points can be useful.
Exactly.
Okay.
For high functioning teams. Yeah. Teams that they've already built that strong foundation of trust.
Right.
And shared understanding, story points, they can be a very helpful tool for forecasting and planning.
Yeah.
The key is making sure that they're not being used to micromanage.
Right.
Or create, unnecessary pressure.
Right. Yeah, totally.
The real question is, are they actually adding value to your process?
Yeah.
Or are they just adding noise?
I like that.
Are they helping you have those really crucial conversations about scope and complexity?
Yeah.
Or are they just another box to tick on the checklist?
It all comes back to being honest with ourselves, right? Taking a step back and asking, are these story points really helping us? Yeah. Or are they just another hoop to jump through?
And there's no shame in admitting that what works for one team might not work for another.
Right.
Or that, your needs have changed over time.
Oh, totally.
Remember, even the inventor of story points has kind of come around on the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
To say, you know what? These might actually be more trouble than they're worth.
Which is, honestly, when you think about it, that's kind of amazing.
It is.
It speaks to this evolution of thinking,
Yeah.
Within the Agile community, we're constantly iterating, experimenting, striving to find those better ways of working.
That's what it's all about. It's the beauty of Agile is that it's not dogma.
Yeah.
It's about embracing change and finding what works best for your team in your context.
I love that. So what does this all mean? What's the one thing that someone listening to this right now can take away and actually apply to their own work?
Yeah, I think a good first step is just having that honest conversation with your team about whether story points are actually serving you.
Yeah.
Or maybe experimenting with a different approach.
Okay.
We talked about that whole flexible sprint thing earlier.
All right.
Or even going full hashtag no estimates. Right. Just see what happens.
Try it out.
I like it. Here's a final thought to leave you with.
Okay.
What if instead of measuring our output, how many story points did we complete? How many lines of code did we write?
Right.
What if we focused on measuring the outcomes?
The outcomes, okay.
What impact are we having on our users?
Oh, wow.
Are we solving the right problems?
Yeah.
Are we delivering value?
Oh, it's those are big questions.
Those are the questions that really matter.
Yeah, they do. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those big questions.
Yes, ponder away.
Until next time, happy coding.
Happy coding.
And may your sprints be ever productive.
Ever productive.